Hey everybody, it's Conversations with a Sex Doctor. This is our live series number 2, and I've had some travel plans lately, so I haven't been doing these for a couple of weeks, but I thought I would restart the schedule and offer a 30-minute conversation every 2 weeks on Wednesdays. If this time is just a terrible time for you in your time zone, let me know and I can rethink it. It's not in stone yet. And I put these up on my YouTube channel later. So you should be able to find them with all of the, the questions that I'm going to answer verbally. So tonight's conversation is about, am I normal? I think as sexologists, we get this question a lot from people wanting to know if what they're desiring is normal, what their curiosities about are normal, even if their genitals are normal. So we all have this, a kind of desire to compare ourselves to others and check in and see where we are on the spectrum, right? So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about what is normal and why is being normal something that we aspire to. What is it about the word normal that makes us feel better about ourselves? I'm always curious about that. So your questions and comments are critical to this interaction. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and talk to myself. So I see we've got some friends popping in. I'm on Instagram as well as Facebook. And so if you're in the comments or you're popping in and you have a question or you even have a comment about like maybe a time that you felt like what you were wanting or thinking wasn't normal and you checked in to find out like how does that relate to my sense of self and my self-esteem, my body image, my self-image, and what was it that implied that maybe you weren't normal? We get a lot of that. So conforming leads to less chance of criticism. I think that's certainly our perception, isn't it? That if we can match what other people want from us, that somehow we won't be criticized. And I think one of the things that I've learned over time is that there's always going to be somebody that's going to criticize us, right? There's always going to be somebody that's not going to like who we are or what we stand for or what we want. So we can spend a whole lifetime trying to conform and change who we fundamentally are or what we fundamentally like to please another person and spend a whole lifetime really being miserable. So I think that's a great point. We think it's going to lead to less criticism or less judgment. So Douglas over here, thank you, Douglas. You're always so kind. So one of the things I'd like to talk about, I wrote an article for the Journal of Sexual Health. So I have it behind me here. Called the rainbow of desires that are what we would in sexology consider normal. And I think a lot of times we get curious about like what does that mean? What is normal? What if I'm curious about same-sex sexuality? Does that make me gay? And what is my feelings about being gay? Where does that come from? So we can take some time to kind of process those things a little bit more. And then if you have any questions about, one of the questions I get a lot from men around the world is masturbation normal? Is it healthy? Is it okay? How often? And so those are questions that I think, a lot of people don't know who to ask these very personal questions of, and that's where sexologists and sex educators can really come in handy because we're trained to not be judgmental. It's a really beautiful thing to not judge people for what they like and what they don't like, and to help them see, whether it's working for them or not. That's really the bottom line of all of this, isn't it? That if what you like or what you have or who you are is working for you, then that's really all you need to know. And it's consensual, and you're not breaking any major laws. So we have trouble, so Erica says we have trouble accepting ourselves as our authentic, unique self. We tend to look outwardly for approval when we need to tap into our own awareness, strength, and acceptance of who we are as individuals. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're sending codes. Oh, good. Thank you. Uh-oh. My live on Facebook just ended. Okay, so let me restart that. That's very strange. Okay, so we'll start that again. So yeah, I think that's a huge issue. You know, is what does the outside world tell us that we need to know that we can't find out inside? That's a big one. Let me just write this here real quick. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Trying again. Okay. All right. Try this. Maybe my Wi-Fi is struggling with all that's going on around my house here. So if that's the case, I'll just stick to the Instagram. So if you're on Facebook watching, and if my Wi-Fi isn't powerful enough to do this on Instagram, please come over to the Instagram. It's on my page, and you can find the link and come over there and watch and check in with us. And if you want to join in, Erica, if you'd like to pop in and join me to say anything for a minute, or tell people about your book, which could be wonderful, and whatever you want to say, I'm happy to invite people in for a question, and then have you just pop out so other people can have a chance to come in and ask questions verbally if they'd like to. So living for ourselves, one of the things that I think we discover as we mature is that the authentic person that we are really is who we've probably always been, that we just peel back the layers of ourselves as we mature and find out who we really are and what we're really about, what turns us on, what turns us off, and that we have every right to all of that. We don't have to change for anybody else. If you find yourself wanting to be different, to be accepted, or to be loved by someone else, they don't want who you are. Hey Brady, hey Brian. Yeah, I think that they don't want, they're not interested in you, they're interested in the version of you that they'd like to create. And when we do that to another person, we're really undermining their self-value and who they are and why they're here. So I think it's really important in relationships that we're very mindful of how much we try to change someone else to be like we want them to be. So I've identified as bisexual the majority of my life, but I've not experienced a relationship with a woman outside of kissing. Some men seem to invalidate my bisexuality, and it sticks with me. Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting that other people would have an opinion or think they know your sexuality better than you do, right? It's like, you know your sexuality, you get to define it. Nobody else gets to define who you are, ever. You just don't let anybody else define you. You are the defining force in your life. And if identifying as bisexual seems to fit, it's like a perfect pair of shoes you put on. It fits who you are, it fits your personality, it fits how you want to see yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your sexuality. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. And it's really nobody else's business or nobody else's say to try to discourage you from being who you are. That, again, that's somebody that isn't interested in who you are for your sake. They're interested in who they want you to be. It's like we used to, a lot of men over time, and women too, have thought that they could change somebody's sexual orientation by having sex with them. And I think that's a big egoic statement. Plus, it's very presumptuous and quite disrespectful to another person to think that you could inflict yourself on them without their desire to be any different or to try something new. So I think we have to be very careful about that. One of the other things that I think we can talk about is proclivities or fetishes, things that maybe are outside of your normal realm, your comfort zone. Yeah, how would I define normal? I think that normal is a spectrum, and it's very, 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 very broad. So I think we're all normal. I think if you're feeling healthy and you're feeling aligned with who you are, and you feel that that's authentic, then that's your normal. I think everybody has their own normal, and we can look at data to look for a baseline, but if you're looking at a range of normal, there's very few that fall right in the middle. It's always a spectrum. So I think we have to, that's why I bring this up, because a lot of people want to know if they're normal, and my conversations with them generally are, yes, you're normal. You are you, and that's all you need to know. And so Erica says, I'm in a place where I can't come on now. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for being supportive, Erica. I appreciate that. So, I think when we talk about what is normal, what is healthy, it's how things align with you. Also, it's what you do with what you want. Certainly I'm not an advocate of inflicting ourselves on people that we don't have consent from, or that, or whether it's against the law. So I think we have to be mindful of those boundaries. But aside from that, anything that's with adults and consensual, I think the sky's the limit. Go for it. Just know that you're experimenting and exploring. And I think for me, I think we change over time, right? We evolve. Things that I really like now, maybe I didn't know I liked 10 years ago. And so I think we keep learning and growing and trying new things and becoming more of who we are. I always like to say that I haven't really changed over the years, but I'm much more of who I have been from the beginning. I just keep adding to that person and that personality, and I stretch my boundaries, and I hope that other people feel freedom to do the same. I think a lot of cultures around the world are very difficult for people to do that. I talk to people all over the planet, and I hear stories of people that have these desires and have these curiosities, and yet they're culturally pretty much stuck in that judgment and that shame. So they have to find other ways to explore their curiosities that aren't going to lead them to harm. I think that's a critical one. Yeah, and Erica agrees she's more fully who she is as she grows older. Yeah, I think we it's like I have so many, when I laugh when I look at my resume, because my resume has gotten so long. So I guess what happens when you live this long, right? And so when I look at it, I think, gosh, there's a lot of things on there, but it's really just been a very natural building block of things I've been curious about and interested in, that I've dove headfirst into to learn as much as I can about and add them on to my toolkit. So I think our personalities are the same. And caring much less about what others think of you, it's so liberating, so liberating. There's a saying that I've said a million times, and I'll say it again. What other people think of me is none of my business. And it's sweet when people pay a compliment who don't know me. Generally it's a superficial comment, but it's still sweet nonetheless. I understand they're trying to make me feel good and give me a lift, which is appreciated. But honestly, the best compliments come from people who really know you and really know who you are, all your quirks and all your shadows, and they still like you and they still want to spend time with you and To me, that's like the ultimate compliment. So, but again, it's when we tell somebody you look great, that's a judgment. When we tell somebody you suck, that's a judgment, right? So we have to be careful to how we're implanting our perceptions onto other people. It shouldn't matter what we think. We want to have people build themselves up with their qualities and their abilities and their curiosities and their own personality, and realizing that just who you are today, you're more than enough. More than enough. And we don't have to change. If I have to change who I fundamentally am to be accepted by another person, I'm not giving them me, right? I'm faking it. I'm lying to them. That's a deception. So why would I do that? Because I can only carry that off so long, and the real me is going to come back out usually roaring. So I think it's really important that we honor who we are, whether it's regarding our sexuality or how hot we like our coffee. It doesn't matter. If we're honoring who we are, what we like, what we want, how we think, how we feel, if we're mad, if we're sad, all of the emotions, if we honor those in ourselves, then what that does is it demonstrates for other people that it's okay. That it's okay when you can be yourself. That I will accept you just as I'm hoping for acceptance of who I am. But if you don't accept me, that's cool. I think that we just have to, be more accepting, and then that passes along. So, okay, so Brady, he's sharing that I caught him off guard the other day when I told him about the objectification idea, and I think it's a hard thing to say, and it's a hard thing to acknowledge when we find ourselves objectifying other people, because when we're looking at beautiful bodies or people in the media, we objectify them because they're really just an object on our screen. I think it can be risky, because if we let that person know we're objectifying them, there's a bit of a dehumanization that happens, and we're not building them up by telling them you're hot, you're sexy, I want to bang you, whatever. Those are objectifying things when we're telling a person, it's just your body, it's just your look that I want to do something to. It has nothing to do with who they are and as a human being. And I think we have to remember that these are human beings on the other side of that computer, with feelings and thoughts and ideas and hopes and dreams and desires and insecurities and fears and all that stuff that makes up a human being. They're not an object. So just be mindful when you find yourself objectifying, oogling at somebody, thinking of what you want to do to them. That's actually kind of a violence toward other people. What I want to do to you, well, where's the consent? There's no consent in that. So we just be mindful. I dive into this deep because of my work and because of my own past and because of my downline of children and grandchildren. Many of them are females, and so I'm very protective of women, but I'm equally protective of men who are being objectified. I think that it's that there's a dehumanization factor to that I'd like us to all work a little harder to undo, so that when we're interacting with people, whether it's online or in person, we're interacting with the humanness in each other. We could certainly use that more and more as we see what's happening around the world and in our country, with how people are being treated. When we objectify a person, we take the humanness out of them, and that's what's happened with Black people and the policing, that system that's been designed to make them seem less human to the police, so they can do things to them because they don't have that same humanness. So it caught me, but it was true, and I'm so different than like that in person. Yeah, I think we all are, Brady, and I think that's a really important distinction that you just made, because I think we're all fairly new. You think about the culture of computers and the internet and having these screens that bringing us closer together in many ways. It's also creating a divide that allows us to dehumanize people and to objectify them. So I think if we can just remember that if we could reach through that screen and touch that person, they would be flesh and blood, and they would be a real breathing, feeling human being. And nobody is above having their feelings hurt. I mean, I can tell you that when people say mean things on the internet, I don't care how tough you think you are and how brave you think you are and how distant you think you are. Those things hurt. They wear on you. And there's a lot of people now that's why a lot of these famous people have other people do their social media, because it's so cruel that they end up being suicidal. So we just have to be kinder to each other. How about just be kinder to all these human beings that we're connecting with? We have this amazing gift of this internet. I mean, it's just fabulous. You think about how we can talk to people in all these other countries and learn about all these different cultures and people, all these different life experiences that we all have. We can share all that. We could get a lot more out of it, I think, if we were kinder and less judgmental. So yeah, be kinder. So am I normal? I certainly have teased that I don't know what normal is, but I think it's really the opposite. I think we're all normal, and we're all doing our best. I like to view human beings as playing cards trying to stand on end. We lean sometimes and we support each other, and then we fall down when the wind blows. But I think for the most part, most people are doing their very best. Some people are definitely have been derailed with greed or desire for fame, or that kind of push to be something that maybe they're not. That can make people do crazy things. And certainly we do have a lot of people who are probably great people that do not such great things in this world. So I think we do need to just be a little bit kinder when we're interacting, especially when we're interacting with each other. So one of my favorite sayings in the sexology world, I first learned it from my dear friend Amanda, who's a sexologist in Reno. And she, her phrase was, "Don't yuck my yum," and I love that, because it's if I like a glass, so Douglas, if I like a glass of Merlot and you'd rather have Chardonnay, it's not for either of us to say, "Ew, you like that," So when we do that to someone, "Ew, you like that," that's a very harsh judgment, and that actually tells us that we don't like who that person is either, because that what we like is a fundamental part of who we are, correct? So I think we have to be more kind and gentle that way. Does anybody else have any questions? I could talk and talk and talk. So I've been doing a little research on all the variations of biologic sex, which is fascinating. My background is in nursing and health education, and my husband's a physician, and so we're definitely the science nerds. And so learning more and more about the biologic sex spectrum. There are still a lot of people out there that want to believe that we're just boys or girls. That's it. There's only two, right? We're hanging on tight to that. Well, the reality is we've never been just male or female. We've never been that. We've tried to put people into boxes so that we could you're welcome for the yuck my yum. But I'm going to post, when I put this up on my YouTube channel later, I'm going to post some links for you if you want to learn more about biological sex and how complicated it is, and what a wide spectrum it is. If you're curious about learning and expanding your knowledge so that we can be kinder to each other when we learn that somebody's not identifying or even biologically just a female or just a male, we can be kinder that way. So the more we know, the better we can do. So some of the best kind of lubes, it depends on what you're using the lube for. That, if you're using condoms, you don't want to use any petroleum-based lubes, so you want to use silicone or water-based. If you're doing, if it's for anal sex versus vaginal sex, or for masturbation, I'll look for a link on the best lubes for what, because it is a whole nother science, and I'll post that on the YouTube channel later when I post this video. All right, well, we're coming down to the last few minutes of our 30 minutes together. I just wanted to get this started. I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know everybody's got lives and busy, but I do appreciate you coming in, giving me an audience, helping me fine-tune what is this conversation with a sex doctor. And I'm going to be back every 2 weeks. So think of questions that you might like me to answer. If you're shy to ask them in the comments, then please email them to me or message me. You can direct message me on Instagram or Facebook. Just go find Dr. Nancy Sutton Pierce, and I'm all over the place. You could even find me on YouTube. So just message me what your questions are, and I'll be sure to keep a list, and I'll answer them each session that I do. So I'll be back again in 2 weeks. At this time, it's questions about sex, questions about relationship, questions about your body, what's going on, how to get what you want out of life, where you're stuck, all those things. Those are all things that I address. And thank you from Trinidad and Tobago. That's awesome. Thanks for popping in. I really appreciate your time, and I'm so grateful for all of you who follow me and support me, and it's exciting and encouraging, and I look forward to doing this more. So tomorrow night, make sure you come back at 5 p.m. I do have a few seconds for a question. Sure, shoot. So 5 p.m. tomorrow, I'll be back for Wild Women with Wine with Karen Lee. Here again, and so pop in. We always get something crazy going, and she definitely makes me laugh and helps me not take myself so seriously, which I greatly appreciate. And she's one of my dearest friends, so I hope you'll support her. So go to Karen Lee Potter. She's on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok. She's like the TikTok queen. So if you haven't followed Karen Lee on TikTok, you really need to do that. Oh, so Karen introduced you. Oh, that's awesome. She's the best. She's one of my most favorite people. We have such a great time together when we get to spend time together. So, all right. So you're welcome, Brady, and you be Googling up how to date a porn star, life goals. Let me know how that goes for you. All right. So you just gotten a blood test and the doctor said that you had herpes. Okay. So, a lot of people do have herpes. There's two variations. It's a virus, so you can use Valtrax, and you can ask your doctor for prescription. You can take it prophylactically. Some people take it once a day, and that keeps any outbreaks at bay. And just make sure you let your sexual partners know that you have herpes and that you're treated for it. I think that's it's a genital. Well, you can get there's no such thing as genital or oral herpes anymore. It's just two different strains of the virus, but you can get either in both places. So you can get oral herpes on your genitals and genital herpes in your mouth. So there's really no differentiation. It's just a virus. Cold sores are a herpes virus, and if you have a cold sore and you give somebody oral sex, they can get that on their genitals. So I think you just have to be mindful that viruses, as we're learning from COVID, viruses are incredibly contagious, and so it's just important that you do the prophylactic treatment. So ask your doctor for a prescription for the antiviral or Valtrex. That would be the way that I would suggest you go. Okay? And it's no big deal. I mean, many of the population, so you don't have any lesions. Okay, great. Yeah, so you want to prevent them. If you're sexually active, it's a good idea to prevent them through the prophylactic treatment with Valtrex. That's what I would recommend. All right, so it's 6:31, so I'm going to try to keep this to a half hour. You guys are fun, and I could probably just sit and chat with you all night. Can you get rid of it? It just doesn't go away. That's the problem with it. The virus can stay dormant in your body and then be activated with stress, sunshine, usually stress and too much sun, and so it can be reactivated. So that's why it's important to take the prophylactic treatment, which is a Valtrex pill. All right, thanks Mama. Thank you. Appreciate you. And all right, so I'm going to put this up on my YouTube channel in a bit. And you guys have a great night. Take super good care of each other. Remember, when you're getting frustrated with the people on the other side of the screen, because I certainly know that feeling all too well, just try to take a breath and realize that's a human being. And if you give them your insight, just remember that it's just your opinion, and you have to be kind with it. Try to help them. Think about, how is what I'm going to say going to help this person? Is it going to give them the lift that they might need? And I'm going to follow my own advice, because this is tough, especially with this political stuff that's going on. It's easy to get fired up and get impassioned. So I think what we just have to remember, that these are human beings on the other side of it. And how do I feel when it comes back my way? And I can tell you from my own perspective that it just never feels good. So we just have to try to be kinder. All right, have a great night. Follow my YouTube channel, The Sex Host Doctor, Facebook, Instagram, and I appreciate your time and attention. And don't forget my Patreon, patreon.com/Dr. Nancy. And Karen Lee's is patreon.com/Karen Lee. Your support is truly, truly appreciated. It's really the only way that we can get the resources to continue to do this work virtually, because I don't have anybody paying my bills. Okay. All right. Hola. Have a great night, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Or actually, I'll see you tomorrow night for the Wild Woman with Wine. Bye-bye.